The Solomonese rap. What's the artist you're listening to?
King Von.
What's the name?
King Von.
King Von. Nice. I do a bit of rapping myself just for a laugh. MC Rhymebeard, and head out into the local village and see if we can talk to people, see how they live, and have more of a cultural understanding here in Savo Island. So we've been told it's about like a half-hour hike or walk, rather, out into the village. This place is really beautiful. Lying on that hammock was just utterly idyllic. I would love to lie further on the hammock, but we must press on. You know, experiences await, and I'd really love to meet some local people, do photography, filming. This documentary is it's a very rarely visited place. I'm not aware of any decent documentaries that have been filmed about the Solomon Islands, and I think it's very much somewhere where the world could benefit from knowing a lot more, or a little bit more, about this the culture of these islands. You know, I'm sorry to say there is a bit of as idyllic as it is, there's a bit of pollution, or rather just rubbish that's been left on the beach, especially towards the sea. But this is quite common in places like Indonesia, for example. There are lots of rubbish mounds, and some of the more remote beaches, like nets with detritus and garbage, and it's a bit of an eyesore. But again, it is a beach that rivals any beach for a kind of tropical white sand destination. Hiya. Yeah, I'm coming. We'll get there and go to the village, talk to people. Wow, the place is gorgeous. People's houses, lots of lively, colourful plants. Tropical getaway in the Solomon Islands, Savo Island. One of the most remote places that there are. Obviously the most remote island in the South Pacific, I believe, is a place called Pitcairn Island, which I believe was settled by British colonialists who set up settlement there. That's as remote as anywhere you can possibly get. But here in the Solomons, it's difficult to have any complaints about things that, you know, bother us in our life. Although people here, they have their own difficulties and challenges like everyone else. It can't be easy to be so remote, but there are about, I believe, around 5,000 people that live on this island, and they have cell phone access. You know, everywhere now is connected with cell phones. You can't absolutely get away from it. So they're able to have contact, and the boats would take them out. Honiara, Solomon Islands, we saw in the video on arriving into Honiara, the ships that were docking by the dock area, carrying the passengers into the city and out. They go there to the seafood, to the fish market, and sell their catch and everything else. That's where a lot of the social life of the main island happens. It's interesting to walk through there. A lot of interesting and unique smells being emanated from there, but on the whole it was quite neutral. I've smelt worse. Some of the finest food I've ever eaten was directly from fish markets in Japan. Shirogama fish market in northern Japan, for about $20. I bought a large amount of sashimi. All kinds of things like fresh from the sea, ice cold. It was absolutely delectable. I got some rice, some miso soup, soy sauce and wasabi. And it's the subtlety and the delicacy of those flavors that really shines through. But there's something about Pacific fish, that makes them very much suitable for eating in the sushi as a sashimi, which is like thinly sliced pieces of raw fish. For example, the Japanese have otoro. Otoro is one of the finest things you can have. It's raw tuna, but it's the fatty tuna. They normally have a few different types: medium fatty, or kind of like more lean tuna. The otoro is an absolute delight, and I found myself loving things that I never thought I would. For example, eating eel, which is the unagi, in Kyoto in the Nishiki market. They're selling the specialty unagi, which is quite expensive, but the eel glazed in a kind of sweet sauce and accompanied, for example, with like a mouse strawberries from a particular region of Japan. You can buy them in a sandwich with cream, and it's just utterly delicious. You can fill your stomach with all kinds of concoctions that you may not have previously thought exist or that you would like, but you end up liking them. Hello, nice to meet you. Hiya. They live in a very kind of scenic, shaded place here. You reach the village through this trail, and we'll see what awaits us at the end. It's good to come into somewhere with no expectations or preconceptions about what you're going to find. Take it as it comes. See what happens. This is the best kind of travel. If you come in seeing what you wanted to see, you may very well find that you miss out on a lot of experiences that would have come your way if you were more flexible with your schedule and your time. And this is why the Solomon time is ideal for this. They're quite chilled, they're laid back. People do work hard, but you try working in this heat and see how far you get. It's really, really extremely humid and tropical. Hello, nice to meet you. The locals passing by, doing their everyday thing. And we come now to what looks like it's either a church or what is this building? Yeah, it's a church. Okay, yeah. So we see there's a cross in the front and some kind of like religious icons at the front to greet us. Obviously the telltale sign, the cross, which I should have mentioned first. So yeah, obviously it's a church. Thank you. I might just have a quick look at the front of it. Don't think we need to go inside much as I would like to spend more time. I've been harping on about Solomon time and slow travel, but it's shaded in there. But I do want to see the village and learn about how people live. Obviously there's a hammock waiting for me at the end of this on the other side of the beach. Just lying back in the hammock and philosophizing and reflecting on things is kind of the apex of everything I can think of doing that would be fulfilling at the moment. You know, taking respite from the heat, because see, I am dripping. It's very, very hot. The environment is burning, but this place has a certain kind of magic to it. It's very difficult to put into words. And yeah, I hope people see the Solomon Islands and consider it to be a place that is very much worth visiting. Not just by country counters and people who travel who want to tick off country 110 or what have you. There is a place for that, it can be fun, but a lot of people who come for this reason, and they just want completism. They treat countries like objects, like magpies collecting shining things that in fact are not gold. They're collecting their countries and their numbers and their ideas, but actually, you know, it's I mean, everyone's personal experience of travel is different, and who would I be to judge? If they want to fly by certain places, that's fine. But a lot of places do get treated like objects, and places do get objectified, particularly by those who whiz in and out, you know, doing a day trip so they can hit an extra country. I myself have been guilty of this kind of tourism, but above and beyond, I've really tried to spend a decent amount of time in each place if I can. For example, in Japan, I spent a total of 3 months essentially traveling across Japan, essentially living in Japan, getting to know its history and culture very deeply, studying Japan at all times, and in the end, I'm writing the book about Japan, also China, where I've made I think 5 or even 6 visits. That's the book I'm writing simultaneously, and it's a place that can be combined with other trips. Let's say you have a layover and you're flying somewhere like Australia. Why not go to Hainan province, which is just what I've done at the beginning of the South Pacific trip. It's a place that is full of history and culture, incredible market there. You can do great photography of the people that live there. There's Shilo Old Street, or Kilo Old Street. I'm sorry if I've mispronounced it. It was really fantastic. They have their own cuisine, the Weng Chang chicken, which I didn't realize was supposed to be eaten cold, and that the chicken head was presented to me as well. I'm sorry to my feathered friend over here for talking about this and various other chicken-related culinary expositions. You know, there's a building here, and Weng Chang chicken, very unique. And then I love to go to a new restaurant, and I would just point at the menu and smile, and then see what happens, see what they bring. And in China, they brought out what can only be described as like a greasy yellow gruel broth with like porridge, with giant crabs swimming around in it. I was given some gloves, and you know, it was interesting. But you know, my face when that arrived was absolutely insane. And on the last night, I found a restaurant, and obviously I can't speak Cantonese or Mandarin or any other form of Asian language, which I'm a little bit sorry about. But I then took the restaurant girl outside to point at the billboard where they had pictures of the things, and then started making like barnyard noises out on the street where the Chinese were looking at me like I was crazy. I was clucking to see her reaction, whether it's a chicken. I was mooing to see whether it's beef, and I was oinking at one point. So it was pork. See these ribs that came out. I wanted these ribs, and then it didn't taste like any of those meats, and so I was wondering if I'd actually eaten a dog. Although, you know, some areas do eat dogs, but it's not common. Korea, you know, in history, you know, you had dog soup and things like that. It's only kidding, but it was very tender and kind of a bit greasy. But I've eaten things like horse and crocodile and just all kinds of other random things. Go back to Japan, I had the cow tongue in Miyagi Prefecture. That's their specialty. And so let's not talk about this too much. We come into a local house. We're going to meet the people. We're going to say hello. These are the kids. Hiya. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Hi. Okay. Hiya.
Hello.
Just hanging out. Very, very hot out here, isn't it? Is that okay with you? Can I take... Yeah, I'm just doing a video. So yeah, you're just hanging out in the shade, aren't you? Just to take a brief respite from the sun, because it's really intense here. What's your name?
Yes, all right.
What's your name?
James.
James, nice to meet you, James. I'm Sayed.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
I know your names and you know my names.
that's lovely. Yeah, yeah, Sayed and James. James, this is your house and family as well. Hiya, nice to meet you. Hiya. Yeah. People live in a very scenic place here in this village. Obviously, material resources may be a bit more scarce, but they make, like everyone else, make the best they can, and they seem really kind of chilled, and it's a very kind of calming experience. Yeah, hiya. Okay, we just say goodbye to you. We're just heading on. Thank you so much. Okay. Wonder if they have like a local school. You can talk to the teacher and the students that are there. We've seen the church. The village is actually spread out quite a long way along the island, and it's nice to be received with, you know, warmly, and people are kind of very welcoming. You know, travel isn't about danger or hostility. This is a very rare thing. On the whole, one of the first lessons you learn when you travel is that kindness is kind of, it's a cliche, but it tends to overwhelm the negative experiences. People tend to be kinder than you ever thought, because the preconception of a place as being dangerous was yours. And the media had led you down a path of sensationalism and completely misrepresented the place. But when you come to a place, you see exactly what it is like in all its shade, in all its complexity, the good, the ugly, the, you know, the tough, and you learn by observing. So it's the ultimate form of you know, understanding, is see something for yourself, think for yourself, be critical. Quite often we have a kind of homogenized way of thinking, like others do, but, you know, go somewhere new, try something completely different that you would never have thought in a million years you would have done, and then later you can see how that experience benefited you. And a lot of the memories are ones of travel of any kind. Hiya.
This is the end of the village.
Yeah, that's the end of the village. Okay. Well, it's been really interesting. Thank you. I've enjoyed my trip here. So we can't really, I don't think, go any further. So I'll just turn around and probably head back. Yeah, so we've seen a few things here. Quite a scenic path along the sea line here, hidden within the trees to provide shelter. It's quite an idyllic village where people go about everyday life. Even in the most remote areas, they have communities, and it would be lovely to spend more time here. As much as I've been harping on about slow travel, realities do dictate that I do have to get a boat back. So I'm going to get back to Honiara, and it's not good to be doing that in the dark. So heading back is you know, on the agenda. We'll take a boat back to Honiara, which will take about an hour. Strap in with the life jacket, rev up the engine, and get the road on the show, to invert the words a bit. And yeah, it's lovely to walk, you know. We've evolved a ambulatory way of surviving. It's all about movement and dopamine release. That's a reward for a lot of what we do. But a lot of what our brain does is based on movement. So a lot of illnesses that we previously didn't understand how to help with, we're trying to do things with movement. Like, for example, Parkinson's is about dopamine deficiency. And so something like called the Feldenkrais method I was reading about, and Norman Doidge, the brain that changes itself, I believe. And another book about the brain. I think this was in the other book. He's talking about kind of experimental approaches to movement for neuroplasticity. So if certain regions of the brain aren't functioning as well as they might, the brain will use other regions to compensate, and you can rewire a lot of your brain this way. So doing so through movement actually activates a lot of these pathways, and it's absolutely fascinating. But yeah, scientists find that when you walk and you move, you're able to think more clearly, and you're able to think. And so a lot of writers found a lot of inspiration through their walks. For example, there's a Latin phrase, I think, called
Solvitur ambulando.
I believe it means like it is solved by walking. You know, so a lot of these like novellas of the French period, you know, as much as I think that he's scientifically wrong about lots of things, Jean-Jacques Rousseau wrote a book, you know, Reveries of a Solitary Walker. You know, a lot of these novels, these kind of like Bildungsroman kind of novels that I would enjoy, these kind of Teutonic novels as well, came to be synonymous with this German term Bildungsroman, like a coming-of-age novel. And quite often it's about a young protagonist who's strolling in the city. He's coming of age. He's trying to find out what the world is about. It's very much about walking and exploring. And this was my life a long time ago. I used to really enjoy walking across London and other cities. And I would just walk and see what happens, observing things, you know, wonderful things happening on YouTube as well. You know, a great channel called Ambient Exploration, again set in Japan, taking you through some of its very scenic places. And there is no talking unlike this video, but he will take you through walks at dawn through Kyoto and other places that are utterly scenic. There's our feathered friend. Yeah, a truly picturesque place here. Hello. All right, we're gonna get yeah. There's the chapel again. And here we have one last look at the village, we say goodbye to its very friendly and welcoming people, head back through the path, back down to the main beach where a hammock awaits, but more importantly a boat awaits back to Honiara, the capital of the Solomon Islands. We're going to have an adventure tomorrow. We're going to go out to Roderick Bay in search of a shipwreck. I believe I've mentioned this a few times. And we're going to meet a tribe who lives in that area. None of these places are of any proximity to each other. It takes a very long time by boat to get to a different island in the Solomons, and the Solomons are surrounded by the vast Pacific Ocean in the middle of the vastest deep blue sea that we know. The seafarers were able to navigate and set up places like this where they live on land, but land is very much a rare commodity in the Pacific. The ocean covers most of our planet's surface area, and we know more about space than we do places like the bottom of the ocean, which is quite surprising. But it really shouldn't be surprising. But I think I read somewhere, this was a fact, that fewer people had been to every single country in the world than had actually been in space, which makes you stop and wonder about our failure to appreciate what is right in front of us, because it's a beautiful world and very few have been to every country now, logistical problems notwithstanding. I mean, not everyone is privileged to be able to do that, and it takes many years, but there are people who've done it, and they're ones who are interested about places like the Solomon Islands. But unless you're from, let's say, Australia, or somewhere with a large population in the Pacific, you may not know about the Solomons or consider coming here as like a touristic destination, for example. And then talking of people being in space, my trip across Mongolia, where I met the eagle hunters of the Altai Mountains, I met an incredible person on my trip called Avi, who I believe he's in his 70s. He went to every country in the world, and the next stage was for him to go into space. So he trained and he went into space, and absolutely incredible. So here is a view looking out over the sea, and they're in the shade there, hanging out. And it's nice to take a moment to listen to the birds chirping in the trees, the sound of the waves splashing in, the long melancholy withdrawing roar. I believe it was Matthew Arnold's poem that wrote about the sea and changing in the historical period that he was living in. We've witnessed a lot of changes in our time. Who would have thought that in the palm of our hand we have something like this that can create videos and bring people together, technology that is way more advanced than anything we thought we could imagine, and it's easily available in the palm of our hand. People out here have the phones as well, and everything's interconnected. If there was a problem with the communications infrastructure of the world, if we weren't able to use phones or internet, the world would collapse. But people are incredibly intuitive and resourceful, and they've set up all kinds of backups for this. once again dripping. Very, very, very tropical weather. A lot of sweat. Trying to stay hydrated, having several litres of water in a day. That's very, very important. When you come to a place like this, don't neglect to be hydrated. I've done a lot of hiking recently. The onset of cramp is kicking in. Like I say, I have been very much hydrated, but it's something that comes upon sportsmen or simply hikers. It can be very uncomfortable. But there's not long now until we hit the beach again and get to experience a slow pace of life. Lying on a hammock, considering everything that is happening, the lessons we've learned, and hoping that we can implement them in our everyday lives one day, you know, by setting up our circumstances and structuring our environment in a way that is going to see us react less to things that harm us, in a more healthy ways to cope with the stresses that life brings, wherever it is that you live. These are valuable lessons to learn and implement. Okay, all good. Thank you for showing me around. I really appreciate it. here we are. When we first disembarked on the boat to Savo Island. Magical place in the Solomon Islands. Gonna step into the shade of the hut there, cool ourselves down, see if they have any more pineapple. That was very refreshing. Not so easy to eat when the weather is so powerful and burning hot. But one thing is for sure, I will be consuming a large amount of water. You know, come into the hut. Locals hanging out by the hammock and the boats. And the end point. Thank you, man. I appreciate you. Appreciate it so much.